Hello, welcome back to the Orangebloods Texas Football YouTube channel. It's your main man, Anwar Richardson, with some breaking news for you. So before I get too far into everything, and I know there's people like, wait a second, what the hell just happened? This is off schedule. Yes, we've got to talk things about the SEC, what the new rule that they've kind of implemented, and like kind of a new scheduling format, obviously, for the 2024 season. So before we get too far into anything, please do me a favor, hit like. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please hit subscribe. We'll love for you guys to be a part of it. So like I said, when things like this happen, when breaking news happens, you'll be the first to see. As you see everyone starting to roll into the chat here. I appreciate all you guys. As you can see, hotel. This is how the life is. You know how this thing goes when one of your reporters are traveling. I'm here in Miramar, Florida, which, you know, some people keep saying Destin. I keep getting confused why people keep saying Destin. It's not really Destin. You know, Destin's is in its own little county, and it's a little, it's a little further. Well, I don't know if it's east or west, but it's not here. So, but people keep saying Destin, so I don't know what to say. But I'm here for SEC meetings in the hotel, poor lighting, as you can tell. But have been out here since Monday, and now obviously the big news, the big story that I've been following. Obviously, this entire week, I outlined it in the war room. Earlier today, which has been the biggest thing has been an 8/9 game conference schedule, and what they were going to do, and and I'll jump to the end, and then I'll take us back a little bit. The end and conclusion is when Texas goes into the SEC in 2024, they will be playing in an 8-game conference schedule. That's the plan, and that's what they're going to be doing. Now, let me give you the backstory on this, so you guys will, if you're not on Orangebloods, come on, man, support your guy. So if you're not on Orangebloods, that's okay. I'll give you the backstory and some of the things I put on the website this week. Then hopefully later this year, you'll be a subscriber, so I don't have to explain it to you. So, there was a lot of talk and a lot of from the fans and of course media members about a 9-game schedule in the SEC and the potential of doing 9 games. Because what 9 games in the SEC, what that really was going to mean for everybody is that there would be at least 3 permanent games / permanent rivals that teams would be able to play every single year. Right, that's what a 9-game schedule meant. And so from a University of Texas perspective, what did that mean? That meant that Texas would be able to play an OU every single year. Then, of course, add in maybe a Texas A&M and an Arkansas, maybe a LSU, but more likely it would have been Arkansas. That would have been a 3. And for the fans, it's great. For the media, it's great. For you guys who love talking crap with, your Aggie friends and foes, that would be great, to be able to talk about that. You'd be able to talk to Billy Lucci all the damn time, right? And just give him crap the whole damn time, right? And so that's what that thought process was, is kind of reestablishing some of those traditional rivalries that have occurred in the past. And that's one of the things that Commissioner Greg Sankey, that was one of the things that he wanted to do. He wanted to be able to reestablish these old school rivalries and how important that was. And, and again, having that Texas A&M game, on Thanksgiving Day, like that was supposed to mean something. And that's going to be one of the things that they were shooting for, and that one of the things they were gunning for. 8 games would kind of take that away, because that would mean there would only be one permanent rival that they would be able to play. So in the case of Texas, that meant OU and nobody else. So I think the Texas fan base, Longhorn fan base, was really kind of intent on being able to say, hey, let's go ahead and have a 9-game schedule, because then it's OU and of course a couple other teams. Chris Del Conte, when I spoke to him yesterday, he kind of echoed the same thing, and that's what he wanted, was a 9-game schedule, because and I think he was very valid in what he said, because one of the games that they play, which is Texas OU, takes place at a neutral site. So in him by having kind of a 9-game kind of thing, that would give 4-4. So yeah, and so they would be your fans, Longhorn fans, would be able to say, okay, there's 4 important games at home, including some potential rivalry games, and being able to kind of beef that up. Now, with that being said, and Mike, I hear what you're saying as far as any word in the A&M game. I'm gonna kind of get into that right now. And so don't worry about that. So Mike, the word on the A&M game is it's kibosh. It's not going to happen. Okay. So, but I'll explain to you why in a second. So what happens is, and this is the thing, and I outlined this in the war room today. And as I've been out here in Florida, whether you want to call it Destin or Miramar Beach, the one thing I've noticed from the coaches in the SEC, their mindset is totally different than what I've heard in the Big 12. Totally different. Because their mindset is about championships. Their mindset is about getting to the CFP. That's what they keep wanting to do. And that's all they talked about was CFP playoffs. Now, here's the thing. Let's break it down. Here is the thing. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't come on last night. We were convinced that I wasn't going to have a good internet connection. And I said, to hell with it, let's just try it today. And lo and behold, there's a good internet connection. Duh. Oh, well, shame on me. But I'm here today. So here, let's break it down into some of the nuances so you kind of understand what's taking place. 2024 is when the CFP is going to expand to 12 teams. All right. So we got 4 teams in the 2023 season. They're going to have 12 teams in the 2024 season. So now, well, okay, what does that mean? So here was the hesitation from the SEC coaches. Their hesitation was, look, if we go to 9 games and we basically are beating each other up all throughout the year, how does the voters and the people who allow you to get in, in the playoffs, how do they look at maybe a 3-loss season? How does strength of schedule kind of factor into all of that? Hold on one sec, guys. I got kids. How does strength of schedule factor into all that? And so the concern was, while other teams have an easier schedule, right? How other teams, are not playing an SEC schedule, and the SEC is tough. What does a team, a 9-3 SEC team, does that team make the playoffs? Right? That's what the question was. Like, how does that kind of factor in? And how will people who vote, how will they look upon that? How will strength of schedule factor in? So for them in this conference, what they kind of came to kind of the conclusion in the thought process, and the things that I kind of talked to different coaches about this week, they kind of said to themselves, why are we risking it for the sake of risking it? Like, the ultimate goal is to get to the playoffs. The ultimate goal isn't necessarily to reestablish rivalry games. And so what they've kind of said was like, we don't want to hurt ourselves for the sake of hurting ourselves. We don't want to go to 9 games and then all of a sudden teams are just beating up on each other. And now there's these other conferences that are playing easier schedules. Now all of a sudden their teams are in, because they're 10-2, but they played cupcakes, or they're 11-1 and they played cupcakes. And here you're sitting at 9-3. Does the strength of schedule matter, or does the overall record matter? Like that was their thought process on that. So at the end of the day, what the SEC has decided to say is, you know what? Let's pump the brakes on this. Let's do this for one year. Let's kind of check and see how this thing goes, and then they'll revisit it next, the following year to talk about the 2025 season. Now, what's going to be interesting is they won't really necessarily have an answer potentially about what it may look like going forward, but they'll vote on it next year again. And again, it could be another kick the can down the road kind of scenario where they say to themselves like, hey, we let's see what happens when 12 teams get in. So what they've essentially done is says, look, Texas, it would be great for you to be able to play Texas A&M. Mike, this goes back to your question. Great to play Texas A&M. Great for you guys to play in Arkansas, but you know what? We want to stack as many wins as possible for our teams in our conference, and we want to get as many teams in as possible. That's more important than the rivalry games. Now, the thing that they did, and I think is kind of cool, is go as far as next season is concerned. This won't go necessarily with the 12 team thing, but in the 1 year schedule and the 1 year plan, it says one of the things that outlines that the SEC teams they'll play their 8 conference games, but they're also required to play one opponent from either the ACC, this is a non-conference, right? ACC, Big 10, Big 12, or Pac-12, or a major independent during the 2024 season when Texas and Oklahoma, I don't want to be disrespectful, Texas and Oklahoma join the conference. They put OU first in their press release, so I was reading it, and that's how I had to autocorrect. I don't need no chat GPT to understand that I cannot put OU in front of Texas. So damn you, SEC, better learn it. So they're at least going to have that, and I think that's going to be kind of a trial run. So if you're University of Texas, you don't have that word because you already have the non-conference schedule, your non-conference game versus Michigan, going forward in 2024. So that part is already taken care of, and then they'll go about it after that. The other thing that the SEC is going to do is they're eliminating the divisions in 2024. So again, they're just going to let everybody play it out. No divisions, the best teams win. And that's going to be interesting because now there's not going to be an East or there's not going to be a West. And one of the things that one of the coaches said in one of the press conferences was, there were times where, the team in the East wasn't better than the team in the West. And the West was more stacked than the teams in the East, right? So, they're kind of eliminating that. They're tinkering with that. So it's a little bit of a backtrack for the SEC where they kind of stood on the table and said, look, we're not going to be stagnant. We're not going to stay still. We're going to move forward. We're going to do all those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, it's like, let's just go ahead and hold off on this thing and go forward. Dallas, you asked the question, Hookem, June 14th is when when it will come out. They're actually, this is fast said, there will actually be a show that the SEC will do to announce their schedule. Like, think about that. When you want to talk about where you are, you talk about, now we up in the big leagues, take out, turn that bat. That's where we are, where the SEC actually has a scheduled release show, which would be on June the 14th. Sankey said he won't be a part of it, but they will announce it on that date. Like, that's where we're headed as far as that is concerned. Okay, I know you guys have some questions. I've kind of outlined everything from a breaking news standpoint. So we know what to expect for 2023. Texas is in the Big 12. When Texas goes into 2024, we know it's going to be in the 2024 season. They're going to just kind of see what happens in 2024, how many teams get into the playoffs, right? So like I said, again, they safeguard themselves a little bit by going ahead and say we're going to schedule one tough opponent. Everybody got to play one tough opponent. Not everybody's going to be able to play Sam Houston State. All right, so you got to play one tough opponent, and then kind of go from there. I want to know. The way I think early in the video, I think I used the word 2023 to describe something, and I want to make sure I corrected that all this goes in place for 2024 season when Texas and OU join the conference. Okay. I feel like there's been questions that have come about. If you got some questions that you want to ask me, that you need some clarity on some things, feel free. Go ahead and shoot those away. It's not going to be a really long video for you guys, but it's just kind of a breaking news thing. So if there are some questions that you need to ask, of course, the super chat, thing is available if you want to go ahead and super chat it and get that thing up there. But if you have some questions, let me know. I'll give you my overall opinion on it as you guys are thinking about it and formulating everything. Overall, I think it's a good move by the SEC. I think it was good for them to kind of safeguard themselves. I think it was a smart move not to just go ahead and just do 9 tough games, have a bunch of teams, 1 or 2 teams that get in, and then everybody else is getting in. Like, I think it's a smart move by the SEC to say, let's just see how this thing plays out. Let's see who gets in, doesn't get in. Let's see what strength of schedule matters, like all that. So now you've got the eight conference games, but you're also going to have a tougher non-conference opponent. So no one can say, hey, you had 8, conference games that are great, but then 4, were just pansies, just a lot of directional schools. No, they're going to be able to say you played 9 teams with a pulse, and then sure you had to, 3 others, which could happen. But this way, you don't have to worry about Oklahoma State, being 10-2 and getting in, as opposed to an Ole Miss at 9-3, but they had like losses against some really tough teams. So we'll go about that. Blake, were there any questions that needed to be had? And one thing that Sankey said is that ESPN did not really have a say so in this thing. He said that they keep ESPN informed, but it wasn't like they were directing anything as relates to that. Nate says, "Isn't an elephant in the room that everyone wants the 3 rivalry games, but don't want to do it until the networks are in a position to pay them more?" Well, Nate, there is a portion of that, but I still think it's more so safeguarding against the CFP. Like, I think that more so than anything else, and more so than the money, most of what I heard was just coaches wanting to make sure, like, hey, does the strength of schedule matter? Because again, this SEC. Every team in here is a killer. Every team's a good team. But you're going to go to other conferences, and they're not going to have that. It's just not going to be that way. And so, if you have, some outlier program that's 11-1, right? Just some outlier program that's not really playing against killers, right? And but they're ranked for whatever reasons. Like back in the day when like a UCF was ranked. Something to that effect. I know they're in the Big 12 now, but something to that effect, right? They want to make sure, like, hey, okay, you just going for the record or not? Like, so I don't really think, Nate, it's more about the records. I just think that the SEC wants to, in this format, be able to put as many teams in as possible, and not being able to just have, we played rivalry games and now we only got 2 teams in. Ben, he asked, why is 3 permanent rivals not possible with an 8-game conference schedule? Can someone explain that? I mean, but it is, there are people who have theorized that essentially just everybody should play everybody over a 4-year period. Like, and if you just do that, you eliminate all that, like everything that whole issue, you eliminate all that. But then that just is something that they don't want to do. What they want to rotate, they want to create new rivalries. They want to keep the one older one. But I get what you're saying. Do the 3, but I also think rivalry games take a lot out of people. One of the coaches said like the rivalry games, that takes a lot, especially at the end of the season. And so, that's the other thing is, again, the rivalry games, those are always coin flip games. That always means there's a possibility of a loss. Or do they want to take that risk with 3 of those things? And remember, the SEC is saying, we don't want to be doing things that nobody else is doing. Because think about this. All right, think about this. Let's go from Texas perspective, man. If Texas is playing Texas A&M, OU, and Arkansas, and we know those are high emotional games every year, right? That was what that will be, home and away. What other conference is making sure their teams face those kind of killers or those kind of like rivalry games every year? Who else? When Texas and OU leave, who are the biggest rivalries that in the Big 12? Just think about it. Because if OU and Oklahoma State don't play, what's left? What's left for a big rivalry? TCU versus Baylor? Right? There really isn't any, right? So the SEC doesn't want to be like, they said, that's great. We'd love to do that. But we're not going to do things that other people are going to do at the expense of our conference. And so we're not going to make things tougher on our programs and tougher on our schools if nobody else is going to do it. Because what are these other programs? Look, Look at TCU's non-conference schedule last year. I don't have it in front of me, but look at their non-conference schedule. It was laughable to say the least. Okay, laughable to say the least. And so because of that, if that's what they're doing, the SEC is like, we're not going to do things that everyone else doesn't do. Starter 179 goes, does it open the door to a long-term scheduled agreement with Texas Tech? No, I would say here's the reason why. I think that when Texas leaves this conference, they're going to, they're going to put them in put a lot of these teams in the rearview mirror. The second thing is, in this 1 year plan, that Texas has to, you got to play ACC, a Big Ten, a Big 12, or a Pac-12 opponent. Well, don't forget that, or Big Ten and Big Ten as well. Texas already has non-conference games, home and away versus Michigan. They already have non-conference games scheduled, home and away against Ohio State. They have Arizona State on the schedule in the future as well. So I think they've already got that part covered. If this is what happens, that part is already covered. That part is already taken care of. So there's no need for them to double back and say, let's put Texas Tech on the schedule. And I think if you're Texas, you just got to say to yourself, there's no win for you if you're Texas in this thing. So that game will be more to Texas Tech defeating or, and competing with an SEC program than it will for Texas at that moment. And so if you're Texas, the Big Ten is probably the thing that you want to be gunning towards, as opposed to the teams from the past. I want to put that out there. So good question, starter. Really good question. What else you got for me, Blake? Buy or sell. Jimbo gets fired before the Texas rivalry game restarts. You know what? I can potentially see that. I don't know how long Jimbo lasts. Like this, this season, I think ends up being a huge one for him. I think this ends up being kind of a major one for him. But if you're asking me, do I think Jimbo's around long term? The answer is no. Now, here's the thing: you're also saying 2025 is maybe potentially where this rivalry game could potentially get started. Could be 2026. If it's 2026, the answer is definitely no. 2024, maybe he might make it another year, but 2025, I'm just at that point. I think A&M says, "What the hell are we doing?" Especially if Texas goes into that conference and has any sort of success. Onward, you got something on the side of your head, homie. I don't know what that means. Is that? I think it's just a glare. It's just glare. That's all that is. It's just a glare, but there's nothing on the side of my head. Just my baldness and oh shit. Oh, there it is. It's a piece of string. How observant are you? Damn. You guys catch everything. I had a piece of string on my head. Well, damn. Thank you. I guess it wasn't shiny and bald. I guess it was just learn something new every day. Ain't that something? Buck Wild Gaming. Great if it's Bushwick Bill. Super chat, by the way. With an 8-game conference schedule, that means we need another non-conference. What do you think about going after a yearly service academy opponent? I mean, I'm not. I don't object to the idea. I don't object to playing an Army or something to that effect. I don't object to it. I think my only issue is I don't know how it helps you and prepares you for what you want to see. Here's why I would say this. Buck Wild, when you look at Army and they're running, their triple option kind of stuff from back in the 70s, right? I don't know how preparing for that triple option is going to help you 2 weeks from now when you face an elite quarterback, right? I don't know how that brand of football helps you. To be quite honest with you, I think you should be able to kind of build some momentum. I think the UTSAs of the world help you out because they're a passing program. that helps you build the momentum that you want to build. I'm not quite sure you gain anything by facing a Navy, by facing an Army, like at Air Force. I don't see the benefit for a UT. I mean, every once in a while in the blue moon, could it be cool? Sure. We all love our military, but I don't think overall, as I talk it out, I don't really think that it helps UT going forward. Like I said, I think uh, play a Rice, play a UTSA, but triple option, I'd have to pass on that. No pun intended. All right, look. We are caught up on everything. You guys know exactly what the deal is. You guys exactly have breaking news covered. We was able to break it down and give it to you first. I'm flying back tomorrow. I will be back in the saddle on Monday for Overreaction Monday. We'll have tons of things to talk about, be able to get a kind of my thoughts and opinions on everything that happened out here this week. There's been so much. It's really cool. It's been overwhelming, but really great. SEC is first class, y'all. I'm just going to say this, and I will continue to say this. This is a first class operation. These folks ain't no joke. I look, to a certain degree, I don't want the Big 12 is sometimes like Spirit Airlines, right? Sometimes they were like Spirit Airlines, and the SEC is more like whatever your favorite airline is. It ain't Southwest anymore. So whatever your favorite airline is, and whatever that is more like that. And maybe the SEC is like Southwest. Like maybe it's serviceable, but crashes all the damn time. But maybe whatever your elite airline, this is what it is. Everything I've seen out here has been first class from start to finish. They've got their act together. UT people have been you know what, Blake? You're right. It is more like a private charter than anything else. That's a good analogy. Everything they do is first class. Every event they've done here has been first class. You guys are going to love being a part of this conference. You should be counting down every moment to it because I think you're going to see the difference when people start talking about the SEC and pumping it up and it just means more and all these other type of things. And you're just like, does it? Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really, really does. And so I think you guys are absolutely going to love it. So get ready for that. This thing's going to be coming soon. But for the whole crew, and basically for my main man, Blake, who is on this show with me, this breaking news show, I absolutely appreciate you. Once again, we got nearly 200 people in the chat and watching the show right now live. Give me some likes there. Just like this video. Help my algorithms out. I'm old. I don't know what it means, but it's supposed to mean something. But help the algorithms out. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do it, man. So you can get to when these breaking news things happen on a Thursday. Unc's gonna come over here and sit down and spit it with you and let you guys know what's going on. And so this way we could be informed as Longhorn observers and of course as your Unc is. So I'll be back next week. You guys take care. Enjoy it. 2024 is right around the corner. Your Longhorns are going to be part of the SEC, but you can't wait. Neither can I. You guys take care. See ya.